Now, One Piece chapter 1028 is definitely what you would call a turning point for Wano, because a certain reveal in this chapter is going to change the end of this arc drastically, and this was something that was kind of set up already. We kind of expected the Cypher Pole or Navy to show up in Wano because that's how the world government operates, especially considering that there are CP0 members currently in Wano surveying everything that's happening. But again, we'll talk more about that later on. We also get a supposed power-up for Sanji, one that has been hinted for the past couple of chapters now, and we're seeing it come into fruition here, which is great. But we do also have to take into account Sanji's perspective in all of this as well, and we'll get more in detail about that later on as well. But before we keep going, I'd appreciate it if you drop a like and subscribe if you're new here. Now, let's start from the beginning. Now, this chapter for the most part focuses on 3 sections. The first being the world government making a move on Wano, Momonosuke and Yamato, and finally Sanji versus Queen. Now, let's start off with Sanji versus Queen because that's easily one of the more interesting part of this chapter. Now, Sanji versus Queen. Unlike Zoro's fight, this battle hasn't really taken a turn yet. For the most part, this battle has been a stalemate, with each side not having done any damage to the other person, but it's easy to notice that Sanji seems to be struggling as Queen just seems to be so durable, which makes a lot of sense because I think Queen for the most part has the most durable ancient Zoan in the entire crew, not including Kaido of course. And one thing Sanji always lacked, and the aspect that he was always behind when it comes to Zoro and Luffy, was that Sanji doesn't really have that much attack power in comparison to them, right? And that seems to be the hurdle that he's trying to overcome at this point in time. Granted, I will say that we haven't really seen his new techniques yet. Even the attack that he used in this chapter was something that we've seen before, and it's actually one of the first attacks he used when we got into the pre-time skip when they were fighting the Kraken. And again, it's hard to say if Sanji is actually using armament hardening because he has black leg. He mostly uses Diablo Jambe, which is again very powerful by itself, but the calamities are just on a different level when it comes to durability, and especially Queen. But obviously this chapter is opening up the idea of Sanji's next power-up, which will most likely be related to his dormant modified genes, because he did show traits of having something similar that we've seen with the other Vinsmokes. And again, he keeps mentioning that his body doesn't feel right, and it's obvious that this is happening because of the raid suit. And again, this was something that was talked about during Whole Cake, whereas it could have been possible that Sanji did inherit the gene modification just like his siblings, but he needed some sort of trigger for it to fully awaken. And based on what we know about the raid suit, apart from the durability, flight, and the other quirks that it has, we do also know that the raid suit also enhances the natural ability of the Vinsmokes. And for that to happen, I would imagine that the raid suit is somehow interacting with the modified genes to power it up. And it seems because of that interaction, Sanji's dormant ability has started to awaken. It doesn't seem to be there yet, but we're getting closer and closer because now he seems to have that durability that they had, because when Queen tried to attack him with his sword, the sword broke. And earlier on, Queen did also try to strangle him, which broke his body, but again, just like the Vinsmoke, he's able to put everything back in place. So again, it seems like his body is getting closer and closer to that of his siblings, but it seems like he needs to put it on one more time before the whole process is completed, because that seems to be the route Oda seems to be following right now. So it's very likely that Diablo Jambe is Sanji's natural ability, and so when he puts on the raid suit, that's going to amplify it to a much higher level. A level in which he can actually do damage to Queen. Now, the whole Lunarian thing is still up in the air as well. Oda made that connection several chapters ago, but I don't know if it's still going to hold up. But again, with Oda, everything just seems to be connected. And we're starting to see science seem to take a more active role in the story, and this battle in particular is seemingly building up to the SSG, which will most likely be something out of this world, because we know that Judge and Queen are inferior to Vegapunk, so we can only imagine what Vegapunk has developed. And talking about science, Queen did show us some weird aspects to his body. Now, we always knew that he was a cyborg, but in this chapter he does something crazy where he's able to detach his head from his body, and his body then becomes like a separate thing that's able to shoot rockets. Not gonna lie, that caught me off guard. But then again, ever since we saw Queen have that metallic neck thing that he had going on when he started fighting, I knew there was something up with his body. body. But overall, I'm looking forward to this fight and where this is going to lead for Sanji, because we do also know that he doesn't want to become like his family. But at this point in time, he doesn't really have a choice, because it's a matter of making Luffy become the Pirate King, as he has to win this fight. Now, moving on to the Momo and Yamato tidbit. Again, nothing really much transpired here. It seems like Momo still needs to produce the fire clouds to stop Onigashima, and there doesn't seem to be any progress here, so this is something Momo needs to overcome. Not sure how, but it could be interesting if his devil fruit plays a role in a sense of his ability having something different than Kaido, because we do know that this version of the fruit was a failure, so I wonder if there's like a different side effect or something that could help Momo hold Onigashima. Now, he did make a little flame cloud in this chapter, but there's a limit on how much time he has, so he has to act fast. On the other hand, we have Yamato heading up to the castle to get rid of the explosive in case Momo doesn't succeed. Now, moving on to the Cypher Pole. Now, here we get news that the world government has finally taken the initiative to actually annex Wano, and I think we knew this was going to be the case based on the conversation Akainu had with Sengoku, because initially Akainu was weary about heading into Wano because of the samurai, but I think after hearing what Sengoku said to him, that made him change his mind. Now, granted, it was orders from the higher ups, most likely the Celestial Dragons, but I think Akainu played a role here as well. And it also makes sense from the Celestial Dragons point of view, because it was hinted that the Gorosei are trying to move forward with the Great Cleansing, and so this is a step forward for them. And this is the perfect chance for them, because it's likely that both sides, Luffy and Kaido, are going to be exhausted at the end, which would give the government a chance to swoop in. And interestingly, they are going in with the idea that Kaido is going to win, so they must have brought some powerful fighters with them, because Kaido is still a Yonko level character. Even though he's probably going to be injured to a high degree at the end, you need someone powerful to actually arrest him, right? So there is some hype on that main CP0 member, because it seems like he might be the leader and is actually very powerful, so we'll see. We also get the return of Rob Lucci, which is exciting because he's one of those characters that has an aura when he's on the move, so it's really dope that we're getting to see him here again. I wonder if him and Luffy are going to have a confrontation just like the old days. And of course, when it comes to the Cypher Pole, the Robin plotline always comes into effect, and here it was stated that the second order that they had from the higher ups was to capture Nico Robin, and based on Rob Lucci's face on that panel, it seems like that's going to be his priority. I doubt he's going to focus on the whole Wano thing, because capturing Nico Robin is more personal to him because he failed in the past. So I'm actually glad that they're putting some importance on Robin again, because for some time now it felt like she was devalued to some extent, because we started to have other characters sort of have the same abilities of reading the poneglyphs like Pudding, but it does seem like Robin is truly one of a kind. But overall, this was a great chapter. Rob Lucci making his reappearance here was dope, and I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table, being the individual that he is. And I do wonder where this power up is leading to for Sanji, because he hates the idea of becoming something that his siblings are, so we'll see how that plays out. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Comment down below what you guys think. You can follow me on Twitter at FerroSpace. But it is Ferro, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.